I'll have people that come up to me after a talk, or, we're doing the question and the answer portion of it. And I always get the question, why do bad things happen to good people?
Yeah.
I always get that question because, here I'm giving these messages, and all I can tell them is I don't know why bad things happen to people. I can tell you based on my experience what I learned, and that we come here on a soul mission, a soul contract to learn. We're here to love, and we're here to learn lessons, to evolve, to ascend our soul.
Yeah.
And that's all I can say. And, if I can plant the seed in somebody's mind, and they can take those messages and they can sit with them and think about them, and if it helps them later on, then I feel like I've done something good.
Yeah.
You got to accentuate the positive. Wow, I feel good. A little bit of feel good goes a long way.
You're listening to Karen Swain, teacher of deliberate creation, accentuating the positive, showing you a way to a better life.
Accentuating the positive, it's not just fad, it's sanity. Who in their right mind would accentuate anything else?
If you feel like that's what you want to do.
Hello and welcome to 2019 and another show on Accentuate the Positive with Karen Swain. So great to be back for the new year. Some of you, it won't be the new year because you'll be listening to this maybe way down the track or watching this way down the track, but it's our first show for the new year, and we have a profound messages for you, which I think that you can take into this year and into the rest of your life, from Heidi Craig, who had an amazing NDE. Welcome to the show, Heidi.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so grateful that you've allowed me to come on your show and speak. Thank you so much, Karen.
Heidi's story has been documented by Anthony Chen. How do you say his last name? Chenny, who does beautiful work. So go over to his station on YouTube. I think he doesn't do iTunes because he does a lot of visual with his work, he doesn't actually speak. He just puts words up on the screen. So I was thinking, as I was watching it the other day, I was thinking, well, this wouldn't translate into audio only podcast because you actually need to hear him ask you the questions, but he just writes them. But we're going to go more into Heidi's experience today and the messages that she was given from the other side. Let me read you a little bit about Heidi. Heidi Craig's near-death experience occurred on May 29th in 2004 after giving birth to her youngest son. While she was in the OR, her heart stopped and she woke up in heaven, or what she likes to call home. Heidi says there are no words to truly express the feelings of love, joy, peace, warmth, and contentment she experienced while in this place. While she was there, she received 3 messages, which were repeated as if they had powerful significance for her and all souls who elect to have a 3D physical experience. It's because of these messages that she wanted to share her story today and spread the messages of peace and love that she received. And I think we can all use these messages. I think we all need to repeat these messages over and over and over and over again until we really get it. Heidi's life wasn't all rainbows and joy after she came back from her NDE. She has experienced many challenges since her NDE: divorce, being laid off 3 times within a few years, and financial hardship. At one point, she thought she may have to live out of her car. The gift of her NDE and the messages she received helped her get through those tough times, and she no longer fears death and knows that we are all one, we are all connected, and that our souls live on. Heidi wrote a book of affirmations in December 2017 based on the NDE called Messages from Heaven, a little book of affirmations based on the truth of an NDE experience. Heidi's goal is to help at least one person. I think you'll help maybe more than one person now. She lives in Solvang. How do you pronounce that?
That was perfect. Great job.
Was it? With her 3 loving, healthy and handsome sons. She works at Deckers as a credit analyst. Wow. Okay. So for people that haven't watched Anthony's interview with you, let's get into a little bit of what happened. We won't go too much into the tragedy and the gory details, because I kind of get a bit with the gory details on NDE, because they're always so horrific, some of them. Well, not all of them, but some of them are so horrific. So you were giving birth and there were complications. What was happening?
Correct. I have what is called retained placenta. So after you give birth, then you need to give birth to the placenta, and that's the sac that the baby's in, while he or she's growing inside of you, and gives them nourishment. So the placenta was not coming out. So the doctor made the decision to take me into the OR and surgically remove the placenta. And so it was in the OR. They put the oxygen mask over your face. The anesthesiologist asked to count backwards from 100. And I started counting backwards. And when I woke up in heaven. And I like to call it home, because that's, for me, and what I was shown is where we come from. And that's home. And I woke up at home. Again, it's hard to articulate. We really don't have the vocabulary, have the words to describe the feeling of it, the beauty of it, the emotion of it. So I'll do my best. I've talked about this many times, and it's still really hard for me to articulate how wonderfully, beautifully, breathtaking and stunning the experience was for me. And then also something that's important is time there doesn't exist as it does here. So everything that was happening to me was happening simultaneously, but separately, which is a really hard concept to try to grasp and understand. So I woke up. It's really difficult, and I'm gonna try to put it in a chronological order, to make more sense of it. So I woke up, and my first thought, and it was just very brief because I was flooded with all these feelings, all these emotions, and instant knowing. But I started thinking, where am I? And then boom, I was flooded with all this information, and I knew I was home, and I knew I was safe. And the feeling of that love and that contentment and that peace was profound. It's like when you find your center, when you're breathing deeply and you find that center and you have that peace and you have that happiness and you have that contentment, that kind of like you can exhale because you're safe and everything's going to be okay. That's how I felt, a million times magnified.
Yeah.
It was astounding. And it was in this beautiful light, and it was a warm, golden, white light, which, again, golden and white at the same time, it's hard to grasp that, but it's a color that we don't have here. That's the closest that I can get to it. And it was penetrating. It was going through my essence, through my soul. And around me, I was in the center. I was in a circle, and I was in the center of the circle. And there were all these divine beings around me. And I knew from their vibration, from their energy, from their essence, and they were outlines. I could see outlines, but I really knew who they were, not really by physical sight, but from that feeling, their soul. And I knew that they were angels. I knew that they were my loved ones. I knew Mother Mary was there, and Jesus was there, and God was there, and they were all there surrounding me. It was, loving me, supporting me. They were all there. And like when Mother Mary wanted me to feel her, she would wrap her energy around me, or you could think of it like she stepped forward. The same with Jesus, the same with God, like they would just wrap their energy around me. Even though we were all part of this energy, we're all, so I was looking at them, and they had different vibrations and different colors. We all had different vibrations and different colors.
Okay, this is interesting. So we're all part of the one source.
Yes.
But we all have difference, like same, but different. It's, there's so many, what's the word that explains something that's the same but different? Anyway.
That's a good question.
Anyway, so my guides have told me that, if we're in heaven, if we're all pure positive energy, what defines us as separate if we're all the same? And they've said to me, intention. So Mother Mary's intention or her color or her feeling was different to, say, Jesus, did she or they explain that, or did you get a feeling of what that's like?
No, they didn't explain it because I had an instant knowing.
Right.
I just knew. I knew information that was a fact. I just knew. I had a knowing. So an example, if I had a question, I was asking questions, and even before I could get and nothing was spoken by mouth. It was all thought.
Yeah.
So I'd have a thought in my head, and I would start a question, and even before I could get that first syllable out, it was answered. Just so quick and so fast.
Yeah.
And as far as, knowing that it was Mother Mary, knowing that it was Jesus, it was their essence, their vibration, their intention. That's how I knew that it was them, but plus the instant knowing. So when we go home.
So what color was Mother Mary?
So I honestly don't remember their specific colors. I don't even remember my specific color. I just knew that we had our own rate of vibration, our own colors, and then together they weaved in and out of each other like a pattern. And that pattern together made up the warm, golden, yellow, white light that we were a part of, which is God. And so we are all connected. We're all one. And and the vibration too, it's, we're always trying to evolve our souls. And you start at a different vibration, and the way to evolve your soul is through learning experiences and through love. And when you learn something, you're ascending a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher. And so we're all in these different vibrations and frequencies. And it's like people you meet. Some people you instantly like and you gel with, and you know that they're part of your group. They're your people. Some people you meet and that it's just off. You don't know even why you maybe don't like them, but you just don't gel and it's not there. Well, they're at a different vibration. We're all energy. We're all vibration.
I loved what you said. We're all different colors, and together we weave in and out of each other, and we create this one color, which is that golden white light. That's beautiful. So with everyone's soul plan, there is an intention which maybe holds a vibrational frequency and a color and maybe even a sound, all connected. And together, when we put us all together, we all become the one white golden light. Isn't that beautiful?
And we all, it's so beautiful. And we all affect each other.
Yeah.
We have to remember that we are one, we are connected, and our thoughts and our actions affect people. If you're angry and you look at somebody and you give them a dirty look, or you think something negative about them, they can feel that. You may not have said it out loud to them, but they can feel that, and that can affect the rest of their day. We're all interconnected. Every little action we do, every thought, every word affects so many things around us. And we have to remember that. We have to remember that we need to actually start loving each other and caring for each other and being there for each other. And it's hard. We're in this 3D heavy world, this existence, and we've kind of forgotten about where we're from and who we are and what we're about, which is love. It's all about survival. And there's a lot of greed, and there's a lot of power control, and there's a lot of things, we kind of moved away from the light. And with light, there's dark, and for a while there, we're going into that dark, but I feel like people are now starting to wake up. And we're starting to see that, no, we can question things, and maybe what we've been learning and what's been fed to us is not correct, and we need to question it, and we need to wake up, and we need to be good to each other. It's about love.
We do. So this experience, when you passed out in your physical 3D experience, you say you woke up, so you didn't experience any traveling or any, tunnels, or it was just an instant 1 minute here, next minute there.
Correct.
And then just in this light, surrounded by beings, some that you identified as angelic, some as relatives, some as teachers and masters. So is this environment just light, like no structure or anything, just pure light?
No, there are. So I was shown so much, but where I was taken, we were in this light. But then I was shown, I was shown my past and everyone else's past. So I could see, because they were drilling in when they were giving me these messages. They wanted me to really feel that impact of these messages, that they were true and they were correct. That knowing, that we're all interconnected. Everything will be okay. Everything's going to be all right. We are unconditionally loved. Those were the messages that I kept receiving over and over and over again. And I received so much information, I cannot remember it all. I still get, downloads, and I'll wake up with information.
Yeah.
Right.
I said, when you said I can't remember it all, I said, is she going to remember it all? And then they said exactly what you just said. We're giving it to her in downloads.
Yes. I'll wake up
some writing for you to do.
Yes. So it's true. It's true. It comes in downloads, and they give me bits and pieces at a time as I need them in my life, as I'm going through challenges, as I'm going through struggles, as I'm doubting myself, as I'm letting myself go back to that unworthiness, not having that self-love. I'll receive more information, especially at the times when I'm really down and out. And we all go through those times. We all have challenges. We all have hard times.
So, because I know your life was not easy before this happened, and we'll go into that a little bit. The 3 messages, let's get into the 3 messages, because they are absolutely simply profound, because they're simple, and we all know it, right? We've all watched a million NDEs or been on our spiritual journey. We've all heard it before. But when you truly, truly, truly live it, when you truly know that, everything changes. The first one, you are unconditionally loved.
Yes. Yes. And that, my point earlier, to get back to that, is that's what they really wanted me to come back with and remember. That was the most important, these 3 messages. So I was getting a lot of information, but those were the 3 messages that they wanted me to come back with, because the whole time during my experience, those messages kept going through my being. They just kept going through my being over and over and over again. And we're unconditionally loved. And it's so important, because I feel like, and for me, there's been times in my life where I've felt completely alone, like I've had no one or nobody, and there was no one that was ever going to be able to help me. I felt that way, and I felt lost. I felt lost as a human being, kind of just like floating like a leaf in the gutter. For periods of my life, I've felt that way. And it's so important that we know that even if we do feel alone, we're actually not alone.
Never.
We are unconditionally loved. We come from God or Source or Gaia. People call it different things. I call it God. We come from this beautiful, divine, profound love. What we come from is love. That vibration is love that we're made up of, our essence, our soul. We forget that when we come into these bodies to have this experience on the earthly plane or any other dimensional plane. You forget, where you come from. There's reasons for that, because we are here to experience and we are here to learn, but we really are here out of love. And we are unconditionally loved. And it sounds, like you said, so simple. But these messages are so profound because they are so simple.
Yeah. So when we're going through our stress, when our friends and family say, we don't like you anymore because we don't believe in what you believe in and you're crazy, and then they like move away from you when you feel alone, or when like you lose your job or disease, or your husband leaves, or your wife leaves, or stuff happens. It's in those moments that you really, really need to remember, I'm unconditionally loved. So if I'm unconditionally loved, then this is happening for me and not to me. So there's a purpose in this. Even though the ego I don't want to be sick. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be poor. I don't want to feel vilified or judged. The ego I feels alone. But if the truth is we are unconditionally loved, then what is the gift here? Like, what is this showing me? What is this teaching me? And then the second one?
That's exactly it. It's we're here to learn, and we have to find that learning lesson in that challenge that we're going through, so that we can move on. That was beautiful. Very well put. The second message is everything's always how it's supposed to be.
That one. This one. I want to really stretch this one out. Because all suffering is resistance to what is. So it's like, I don't want this. And because I don't want this, I suffer. So if we really, really know that everything's as it's supposed to be, we no longer suffer, right? And then we can return to that feeling of love. This is such a big one. Like, we do it all the time. I don't want this sickness. I don't want this body. I don't want this aging. I don't want this family situation. I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want this. So everything is we'll say that again, everything is exactly as it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Everything's exactly always as it's supposed to be.
Supposed to be.
Yeah, it is. And you know, I mean, examples, and I'm sure in your personal life, when you felt the most down, you know, you had a family tragedy, or we'll just say, you know, you lost your job, and you think it's the bottom and you're never going to be able to pull out from this, and you're scared because, you know, how am I going to pay my bills, and how am I going to put food on the table, and how am I going to make sure that there's, you know, clothes, you know, shoes on our feet, and you're feeling so scared, that fear, and you're feeling so down. But it always happens that it turns out okay.
Yeah.
It always turns out okay. And you hit it, you know, if you're not struggling against it, but you're going with it, kind of going with the flow of it, and looking at it as an opportunity, trying to just adjust your thinking, your perspective a little bit, can make a huge difference on how quickly you can come out of it. But try to realize in that moment that it's supposed to, you know, this is happening for a reason.
This is happening.
And you will make it. You will get through this.
Yeah, yeah. Not only will you get through it, but you'll be better because of it.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, all suffering is resistance to what is. It's that no, that we no, I don't want this. And if we could change. If we could flip it and say, what if I do want this? Like, what if it's exactly how it's supposed to be? That's when you return to love. It's so simple. It's so funny because when we're suffering or struggling in some way and we think we need to improve ourselves, like, I haven't got enough money, therefore I need to do a course to learn how to make more money or get a better job, or like, all that becomes irrelevant when you live these three principles. All of it becomes irrelevant because all these things that we do because we're living inside of lack. I'm not unconditionally loved. I'm not enough. And this isn't how it's supposed to be. And I need to improve myself or get better or read a better book or do another course, or I need to get to where I want. But if we just truly, truly, I can't stress this enough, embody these three messages, everything just turns out. It's like you save lots of money on personal growth courses too. Believe me, I've spent lots of money on personal growth courses. Thousands, hundreds of thousands.
It's true. It's true. You know, it's how we react to the situations, and it's our perspective. And if we always realize that we're unconditionally loved and things are all right and they're going to be okay, and look for the opportunity in that challenge or what we can learn from that challenge, it's going to be, you know, we're going to do fine. And like you said, we're going to come out better because we went through that challenge and because we learned from it.
Exactly.
You know, we're not, you know, lack is such a negative feeling to have, right? It's such a negative space to be in, that lack, because there really is enough for everyone all the time.
More than
there
enough.
Really is.
Okay, so number 3. So number 1 is I'm unconditionally loved. Everything is exactly as it's supposed to be. And
everything will always be okay. Everything will always be all right. Okay. Yeah. It will always be all right. And it's how it's supposed to be. And we're unconditionally loved.
So interesting. Even when we don't believe any of those principles and we believe the opposite of them, and maybe we get sick and die, or get old and die, or get hit by a truck, or whatever. I think that humans think the worst thing that can happen is we die. We just go home. Many of us go home first. Some of us don't. Some of us still processing our stressful thoughts in another realm before we can get to that place that you call home. And then we find out that all those things that you've just said is absolutely true. It's like, oh God, how come I didn't get that while I was physically focused, Yeah.
I didn't get it before my NDE. I didn't get it. I felt so lost and so down and so alone, and I had no faith. I had no hope.
Mm-hmm.
And, and it was like, I'm a victim, poor me. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. And I had my near-death experience, and I was in this love, in this place of gratitude, in this place of creativity and abundance and happiness. And I was given that gift and given those messages. So, but I have to tell you, Karen, that it took me, when I came back, and I wasn't given the choice to stay. I know a lot of NDEers are given that option if they want to stay home or if they want to come back to the 3D world. I wasn't given that option. I wanted to stay. I was in my mind.
A lot of people talk about this, and I've had this discussion with my mob, because there's a bit of what's the word? Not consensus. Like, there's not consensus. Like, some people say, oh no, we always have free will, we always have choice. And some people say, no, I was told what to do and I had no choice. So there's two opposing opinions on this one. But then we have to remember that there are multiple parts of us. There is the ego mind, the linear mind, the little mind that thinks it's in control, right? And then there is another part of us, call it the higher self or the soul or the spirit. I think there are many dimensions of us, what we call us, that is co-creating with the ego mind. There are two, let's call it two desires going here. There's the little mind that says, I want to be rich, I want to be famous, I want this, I want to be thin and beautiful, all those things, right? And then the soul says, I want you to learn and grow. I want you to experience contrast so that you can find out what love is. And so these are sort of they seem like two separate plans. So I think that when people say, I had no choice, I think that that's the little mind talking, like the little me that says, I want to stay. And then the greater me is the one that sends you back. It's not like there's something outside of ourselves that says, no, like, God. I mean, God is not outside of ourselves. God is within us. You must go back. I think it's the plan of the bigger me that says, this is just a little reminder to help you on your path. And it's not the end game here. It's just a little reminder so that you can go back and live what you've always known. Do you think?
And I agree with you. And I want to clarify, when I say I wasn't given the option, I know a lot of people are asked, do you want to stay? Or from what I've heard, what I've read, and what I've watched, I wasn't asked. I knew that I was home and I was safe, and I knew that my family, my friends, my babies would be okay. I knew I was going to see them again, and I knew that they would be okay without me, and they would be fine, and I would be okay without them. Again, it was that instant knowing. I knew. And I was content. I was content at home and happy and peaceful. I wasn't asked a specific question. Do you want to stay or do you want to go back? I just woke up with the doctor yelling at me. Right. And I was heavy and I was cold and I was angry because I wanted to be at home. I didn't want to be there. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to be from that love and that peacefulness and contentment and creativity and joy to this cold, heavy body. I didn't want to be back. I wanted to be home. Yeah. I wanted to be at home. And so I really should clarify, because I wasn't asked specifically, but like you said, I wasn't done here yet. I had to learn self-love. If I would have stayed home, my sole mission for coming here and in this time in this body was to learn self-love and to learn forgiveness. And I was only at the very beginning of that journey. Yeah. At the very beginning of that. I wouldn't have fulfilled that mission, and I would have come back. I would have chosen at a later time to come back and learn these lessons again.
Yeah.
So I
Absolutely.
wasn't done.
Yeah.
I needed to come back because I wanted to fulfill my purpose.
I'm just thinking, maybe you weren't given the choice because that little part of you that wanted to stay would argue vehemently. No. And lots of people talk about that, they argue vehemently. Let's not go there. Let's just put it back in our body.
I am so stubborn. I would have been arguing, and they would have been like, no, enough. I would have just been going on and on and on and on.
That greater part of you knows you so well. In one of the last conversations I had on the show was with Dr. Leo Gallen, and his son died, and came to him and spoke to him some profound truths about who we are as souls and what we're doing here and how it all works. And he said to Christopher, was his son, like, what's it like in heaven, Chris? And he said, oh, it's so great, Dad. Everyone is here. Everyone is here. And he started naming all the dead relatives. And then he said, including you. And Dr. Gallen's like, how can I be, hang on, I'm not dead. How can I be there? Like it really rocked his world. But he was talking about what we're just talking about, right? It's like we're already there. Like there's only an aspect of us or a part of us or a beam that's coming from who we are. Like we're already there. So it's funny when the little me says, I want to stay here. I want to stay at home. I don't want to go back. The truth is we're already there. We never leave there. Correct. So it's kind of interesting, isn't it? There is no here and there. There's just different vibrations and experiences, and there's a part of us that's always there. And then there's a beam of that part that elects to have this physical experience for what we think of as a period of time. But as you said, there is no time.
No.
Yeah.
No. There is no time. I mean, we're going to be, the thing is, when we're home, we're not missing anybody here because, it's like you said, it's just an aspect and we know you're going to be right back. It's time is on this plane, this lifespan is on this plane.
Yeah. So are we going to go into what happened beforehand, or maybe people should watch the show you did with Anthony, but you had a pretty horrific time before.
I had a challenging childhood. I grew up in an
abusive
I'll
family.
just say I grew up in an abusive home. And so it was challenging. And because of that, I had no self-worth. I had no self-love. I married into then an abusive marriage because that's what I knew. And I didn't realize I deserved better than that. I didn't even love myself. I didn't know who I was as a person. So I allowed that to happen, even though I knew, even though my guides were telling me then, don't marry him, which I don't regret because I have 3 beautiful sons. I would not change a thing. Right. But I knew I was getting the messages loud and clear.
Sorry, it's hot here today in Sydney. I'm sweating up. I'm sweating up. And
I chose to still marry him, right? And so when I had my near-death experience, like I was saying, I kind of lost hope and I lost faith. And I was given this gift of going back home to understand that and to be given those messages that, you know what? You are not a victim. You are here out of love. You are love. I know you go home and you spread these messages and you go down and you finish what you started. Like you go back there and you learn those lessons so that you can transcend, your soul, raise your vibration higher, learn that lesson so you can move on to learn something else, to go raise even, your vibration even higher, your soul even higher towards God. And so when I came back, the first thing I had to learn was self-love. And I had to integrate my experience, and it took years to integrate in my experience. It was like 6 years that after I had my experience that I even told anybody about my experience. And I had to start realizing that, you know what, I am a beautiful person and I am a divine being and there's nothing wrong with me and I deserve love. And the only way I'm going to get that is to love myself and respect myself. So I started to do things that I liked to do. I started to realize that I had a lot to give not just to my family, but to society and to work and to whatever I put myself into, right? So I had to learn love, self-love, and then I had to learn forgiveness, which was huge for me because of things that I had been through and, past experiences that I was holding on to and not letting go and, playing that victim role. So I had to learn forgiveness, which was a huge thing. And that took me a long time as well. And I still, to this day, struggle with self-love at times and forgiveness. It's an ongoing learning experience. But I do feel like, when you learn a major lesson, you can kind of move on from that and you don't have to go back and repeat it. So if you notice certain people have patterns in their life, right? Like they're always losing money, or they're all, it's once you look at that and, like you said, you look at that situation and you learn the lesson from it. There is no lack, there's enough, and you learn that lesson from it. Then you don't need to keep repeating that, and you can move forward. You can move on and learn something else, learn something new, break that pattern.
The older I get, and the more work I do and the more lessons I, tick off, learn that one, learn that one, learn that one. I just feel like it's just this endless spiral. Do you know what I mean? It just like keeps coming around again. It's like you think you've ticked the boxes. It's like, here it is again. Oh, hello. There you are again. How am I going to respond this time? And I don't know.
That's exactly it. How are you going to respond? Are you going to take everything that you learned in the past to this point on this subject and apply it? Or are you going to stay in those same thought patterns and negative patterns that you did before that's not working for you?
Yeah.
Right? To really, truly learn a lesson, you have to take everything you've learned and actually apply it to move on, which is really hard, right? Sometimes it takes your whole lifetime to learn that one lesson.
I think it does take your whole lifetime. I think it does. If you're still here, you're still learning or experiencing. Let's call it experiencing, because it's like it's not over till the fat lady sings. That's a terrible saying, but it's not over until it's over. It just keeps coming around. And just when you think, okay, I responded really well last time and I didn't let that get me, and I saw the gift, and and then it comes around again. I go, here we go again. And then it's like a merry-go-round, like, oh, here we go again. But it's kind of like it's spiraling you. Not that there is hierarchy, but it's spiraling your frequency. It's changing your frequency, spiraling you up. It's every time you respond with the knowing of those 3 lessons, like I'm unconditionally loved, it's exactly how it's supposed to be, and everything's going to be all right. It's like when you do respond like that and you stay in your bliss, or stay in that connection to love, or your connection to your soul, it doesn't mean that, contrast stops happening. It just doesn't. It's just that you can not experience the trauma of it. You experience it without being traumatized. Yeah.
So beautifully well put. That was beautiful. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. You're still going to have these lessons. You're still going to be tested. You're still going to, you're still going to go through challenges. But if you come from it from a place of love and a different perspective than you normally would, looking that challenge in the face, you don't have to have all the negativity that comes with it. Right? You can rise above that, and you can get past it so much easier. Go with the flow instead of swimming against the current.
I really believe that we go through this stuff, especially when it's quite profound and dramatic like yours, because we're here to teach it. And I know that you work as an analyst, but you want to share this story because you also know yourself as a teacher of this work. And it's like this message that Dr. Leo said the same. It's like Christopher gave him all this profound information, and he said, Dad, it's not just for you. I want you to write a book. And he did. And then 23 years later, he actually published it because he sat on it for 23 years. So how many years have you been sitting on it now? 2004. Well, you've written your book and you're on Anthony's show.
Well, I have to tell you, that's so funny, because I woke up one morning and my guides were just in my ear saying, you have to write an affirmation book. You have to write an affirmation book, because these messages are meant to be shared. They're
Mhm.
not just for you. You need to get them out. And the right people will get the message. The right people will get that book, will get that message. And I
Yeah.
literally wrote that like in a week. It was really quick,
Yeah.
right? To get those messages short. It's 50 pages and half of it is affirmations. So it's a very easy read. But it was like, get those out because it will get to who needs it. You need to get these messages out. As far as my big book, I've been writing that since 2012.
Yeah.
and kind of like, and I kind of sit on it, and that's going to take some time for me to finish, but I know eventually I will.
Well, they're going to keep reminding you, keep giving you the downloads. It's like, as I see it, you go there, they give you they give you the whole picture. You have that instant satori, that instant knowing, that instant enlightenment. And then when you come, that aspect of you comes back into this experience, you come back with some memory, but it's like this life journey is that ever expanding awareness and memory, memory of what you were shown, what what you were given. So it just keeps unfolding. So I think there might be, don't spend too much time on the big book, maybe write a few more books, like keep going, because there'll be endless downloads, I think.
I agree with you. I agree with you, definitely.
As humanity keeps shifting and changing and rising to ever new challenges, because I think that this year is going to be a lot more challenges globally, personally, and that's why these messages, especially for the beginning of the year, is so important. I was speaking to some friends, I've had some events in my home already this year, and people saying, oh my God, this year started with a bang, Mum's house flooded, and the car got this, and somebody got sick, and someone's in hospital. It's like, it's just ongoing, isn't it? There's challenges happening all the time. So we go into the new year with so much hope that everything's going to be fantastic. Everything's going to be fine. But it never is.
And I agree. I feel like this year is really going to be a year of awakening. It's really going to be a year that shakes people, right? Shakes you to your essence, to your core. And it is going to be a challenging year, I feel like, for the majority people in the world. So I really do feel like it's important to spread hope and positivity, light, exactly what you do. You're all about light and love, and to spread these messages. And I really feel like this is going to help. This will help at least one person. We can help. And it's true. If we can help at least one person, I feel like then I've done what I'm supposed to be doing. So I really just want to help. So if these messages resonate with someone and it helps them and it gives them hope, then yay. Right?
Well, let's get into your story and how you applied the wisdom in your life when the proverbial shit hit the fan, because it wasn't all roses when you came back. So what happened?
Well, so, in just a little synopsis, I started to love myself. And when I started to love myself, certain family members and friends weren't used to that. I was a doormat. I allowed myself to be a doormat, and allowed myself not to have a voice. And when I finally started to love myself and not tolerate certain behaviors from people, it was too much for some people, and I lost some of them along the way, which is fine because, not everybody that comes in our life is to stay. They're here to help us learn, to teach us, and we're here to help them learn and to teach them, and then we move on. We learn the lessons we needed from them, and we moved on. And as a result of that, I got a divorce. That was 3 years after my experience. I had losses. I had lost my grandfather, my mother, my grandmother, all within a short period. I lost my pets within a short period that I had for my cat for 19 years and Lily, my dog, for 7 years. So I had losses, and then I had financial hardship, and I had lost my job 3 times in a short period of time with layoffs in the industry that I was in. And it was actually I had been laid off, and I went to the post, and I got my mail, and there was a letter from my landlord, and my rent was going up drastically, and I was putting out more than I was actually bringing in. And it was at that point that I was in complete despair because I didn't know what I was going to do. It's like, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to live out of my car, and then I'm going to lose my kids because, I don't have a shelter, a home for them. And they're going to go to their dad full time. And that thought of losing my children just completely terrified me.
Didn't your husband leave you for your best friend or something? Was that you?
Yes.
That would have been, now there's a challenge. I mean, it's all challenging, but that's a big one.
Yeah. My best friend of 10 years and my ex, I found them together. It's, we're having an affair together. And so at that point, because I'm the type of person that I will stay in something.
Yeah.
Even though I get all the signs like it's time to move on, you need to move on. I have that fear and I have that comfort, which sounds really strange but what am I going to do? And can I afford it? And this and that. And, oh my gosh. And so I stayed in it. And then it's like, no, the sign was right there. It's like, no, you cannot live like this anymore. If you're learning to love yourself,
you're no longer a vibrational match.
Correct.
Right.
And so, and so that really led to, I was working my way up to a divorce. I was working my way up to, I know that eventually would have happened, but this just made it much quicker. It's like we had been together. We were married for 11 years at that point. And it's like, no, you need to get out. You need to move on to something healthy for you.
Yeah.
Even if that means being alone for 20 years, you need to get healthy with yourself first.
Definitely.
That had happened. But when I had lost my job again and I got that letter from my landlord, and that night I'm crying, I'm bawling, and I'm in tears, and I'm like, what am I going to do? And I fell to my knees and I'm like, oh God, please help me. God, please help me. Like when you pray, because you're in total despair. And I hadn't prayed for a long time. And I'm like, please help me. And then I clearly heard those 3 messages. And clearly, it's like, Heidi, my love, you are unconditionally loved. Everything's always as it's supposed to be, and everything will be all right. You will be okay. And I clearly heard those messages. I picked myself up. I stopped crying. I went to bed. I woke up the next morning and I found an affordable apartment, and I had been looking for an apartment 3 months before and couldn't find anything. And boom, I found it. They didn't even run a credit check. He's like, it's yours if you want it. And I drove that day and gave it a deposit, and it was mine. And then that's when it clicked for me. It clicked for me that these messages that I received were profound and they were a gift, and I needed to start applying them to my life.
So
and that's when I started using them as affirmations.
Yeah.
And every day I would wake up and I would say, I am unconditionally loved. I would say those over and over again. And then I would say, I am thankful. And that's when I learned gratitude. I'm grateful that I'm unconditionally loved because I know that I am. I'm grateful that I am safe and sound. Because you know what? Even though I don't have a big fancy house and I have a 2-bedroom little apartment, it's safe, it's warm, and I'm with my kids. I'm grateful and I'm thankful for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's when, I'm grateful that everything's okay, that I'm okay. I'm healthy. I'm okay. My children and my family are healthy and they're okay. And that's when I started using affirmations and gratitude. And that really changed my life because then I had that perspective of happiness and contentment. And even though things do come our way that are challenging, I can get through it. And I know I can. It's just a small little blip, maybe bad for that one moment, but tomorrow, the next day, there's only one way, and that's up. And it's going to be okay.
It's so interesting. It's like they give you the information, and then you say, "Oh, that's really nice," and don't apply it. And then they say, "Okay, let's throw this at you. Your husband leaves you. Okay, let's get a job. Let's rent." It's like they just keep throwing. When I say life just keeps throwing challenges at you until you start to apply it, because reading about this stuff, watching NDE stories on YouTube, or even having your own near-death experience and knowing the information and not applying it is not why we're here. We're here to apply it. It's like, I just think of...
I'm so guilty of that. I know
Me
my
too.
It's like, oh, Heidi, when are you going to get it?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, me, it takes me 10 years to get one thing, but I'll eventually get there. It's just, it takes me a long time to integrate things and learn lessons, but I am getting better and I am getting quicker.
Absolutely. Getting better, getting quicker. It's like the messages, when you cry out to God, please help me, help me. It's not like that a hand comes down or an angel comes down and says, here's $1 million. It's like they just give you, like, we helped you. We gave you the rules to the game. Like, you've just got to use the rules to the game.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of time too, I don't think that we even realize that we're receiving messages or we're receiving help.
Yeah.
You're having a bad day and you're sitting at the bus stop and somebody walks up to you and hands you a flower. Out of nowhere. That is a message like, you're unconditionally loved. It's going to be okay. We love you. It was like an angel right there. You just lost your pet and you're sitting in your car crying and this little bird flies up on your windshield and looks at you and makes some noises. It's like, you know what? Your pet's okay. You're going to be okay. That was a gift. That's a message to you. I feel like we're so closed off and maybe we don't believe that we're letting these messages just pass right by us. We're not, we're not opening up and allowing them in. We're not receiving them.
We're so obsessed with life having to be perfect for us to feel good instead of feeling good and then life is perfect no matter what happens. Like, that's the paradigm shift, isn't it? That's the paradigm shift.
Well, we have to learn to live in the moment. Stop thinking about what happened in the past and what you could have and should have and, what you did say and what you didn't say, and let it go. Don't live in the future. If I only had this, I would be happy. If I had this car or this house, or, what am I going to wear tomorrow? Live in the moment. Because when you're truly living in the moment, all you can have is happiness and peace, right? Like, when you're in that moment, even if it's negative, right? Even if it's you got some bad news, but you're living in that moment and you're letting that bad news happen. You're letting it go in. You're saying, okay, I acknowledge this, and then you let it go. But at least you're alive and you're feeling it and you're living in that moment. You're not numb, you're not numb to what's going on around you, and you're learning, right? It's just, I feel it's so important for us to be in the moment, and which is really hard. It's really, really hard. I don't really know a lot of people that live their lives daily in the moment.
Children.
Children. Animals. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But children, though, they'll start growing up and they'll get to that point and they have all these societal expectations, and you're wrong and you're right and don't do this and don't do that. And they start, that pressure and that expectation, and they lose that living in the moment.
Some do. I find that I was hanging out with a whole lot of beautiful young people last night. There are so many more amazing beings coming in as children who are like young adults now that do stay there. They don't get taught out of this present moment awareness and joy in the moment and loving what is. It's, like you see little toddlers just excited. You give them a present and they're as happy with the box as they are as the present inside it. It's just, appreciation.
You're right. We do have more, more humans coming in that are enlightened and that are awake. Yeah. And you're right, that are in the moment, and they're here to teach the rest of us.
And many of them, getting back to, I had to harp on about Dr. Leo Gallen, but last year I found that his, story was so profound because his son Christopher was mentally challenged, and a lot of these master souls are in mentally challenged bodies, children, Asperger's or autism or Down syndrome. I mean, Down syndrome people are just so in the moment, aren't they? They usually
so love and light, like they're little angels. That light in them and that love in them.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Okay, so where are we with the story? So You'd lost your job, you'd lost your husband, the rent had gone up, you'd forgotten that you were unconditionally loved and that it was all perfect and that you'd be all right. And then your guide said to you, we gave you the story, now do it. And so you went, oh, that's right, I remember. And everything started to turn around. And then what happened? So you got a new apartment.
I got a new apartment. My mom actually started coming and talking to me. She's the one who, and she had passed, and she's the one who kept giving me the messages on my book. So, but the thing with my mom was she would wake me up at like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and I would be writing. And finally I was just like, you got to stop, Mom, because you come during like daylight hours for me, because this is too much. I can't.
Okay. I'm getting a message here for you. I'll just have to give it to you. So what I get is that you're so busy during the day, like you're such a, helper, sorting everything out, making everything perfect, making conditions perfect at work and conditions perfect in your home. It's like you're busy during the day, like as this sort of helper spirit, as this person that wants to sort of feather the nest of everybody to make sure that they do feel unconditionally loved, that you're so busy that she couldn't get through to you at those times. So she had to get you when you were... wake you up in the middle of the night.
And I'm just like, Mom, I love you, and I really want to write this book, but I need sleep. Right? I need sleep. And then after that, they didn't come because, again, I was so busy during the day. And then I got a job. So using affirmations, and I got a temporary job. And which actually a year later I was offered a permanent position and a raise with benefits. So everything turned around for me, started to get better. Right. And so I didn't feel that desperation that I had felt when I was on my knees and that, being so low. And it's like, oh, okay. I really need to, these were given to me for a reason. And it's because it's true and it's correct, and I need to use these and I need to apply these to my life, and now maybe I can actually start helping people. But I still had more work to do, right? I still had a lot more self-love, and I still had more forgiveness and just integrating those messages into my life before I could help someone else. But then one morning I woke up and my guides are like, write an affirmation book. You got to write this. You got to get these messages out. It's time. You got to get it out. And it's like, okay, I hear you.
I want to say something about what you just said. I really don't think we have to be perfect before we become spiritual teachers or spiritual reminders. I don't think I'll ever be, what this perfection in this lifetime. I will always be human, and I always be flawed, and I love that part of me. I love the ego personality that questions, that worries. I love her. I see her as a her, like she's me, but she's not me. And I think that she helps me be a better teacher. And for anyone that wants to reach out and help others, I don't think we need to have it all sorted out before we can help others. I think that our flaws are the very reason we can help others, because people relate. We can relate to each other's flaws. It's not like being a perfect and holy to be a teacher. It's our flaws that makes us connected and makes us relatable. So
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I really feel like people can relate because everybody's kind of gone through something that I've gone through. We've all lost our jobs. Maybe not all of us, but, or we've had a loss of a loved one or a pet, or we've gotten bad news, or we've had somebody that we love that's been sick. We've all gone through this, and I'm not perfect. I can be snappy, and I can be mean, and I can be angry, and I have my moments, and I feel like because I am a real person and I have flaws, like you said, people can relate to me because we are not perfect. We're not.
I think they make the best teachers. I remember seeing Wayne Dyer on stage years ago in Sydney, and he'd written so many books, and he was so celebrated as a spiritual teacher, right? And he was on stage. It was a seminar where there were quite a few people speaking, and he was walking up and down the stage talking about a time where he'd lost his keys, and he was screaming and shouting the house down because he's lost his keys. And where are my keys? And his daughter said to him, Well, if only those thousands of people that admire you as a spiritual teacher could see you now, Dad. And he was telling this on stage to a room of thousands of people. And I loved that he was admitting that he gets angry and frustrated. It just spoke to me. It so spoke to me in that moment. Of all the beautiful things Wayne Dyer said, that spoke to me.
We can relate. How many times have you lost your keys and you're like,
screaming,
somebody help me. Right? I love that too. I absolutely love that. It's true, right? We are human beings and we make mistakes and we make errors, and everybody does. We all do. That's what, I love that you brought that up, because when I first started speaking about my near-death experience, and I actually had a person that I looked up to, kind of like a spiritual mentor.
Right.
And I'll never forget, and this was a huge lesson for me too, and I think this is important for other people out there that are trying to learn more about spirituality and what it means for them, and messages. But I'll never forget, I went on a speaking tour, and I spoke in Berkeley and San Francisco and San Jose. And this person came with me. This person actually drove, because I have an electric car, and it would have taken me a week to get down there.
Yeah.
So this person drove, and this person had a near-death experience, actually 2 or 3 of them, and has been speaking about their experience for a long time. And I really looked up to this person, and I really looked to this person as a mentor. And I'll never forget, it was after the second talk, and we were driving back to where we were staying, and this person says to me, I really don't think that you should bring up all the loss. I don't think it's important, and you don't need to include it in your talk. And that kind of surprised me, right? And I really didn't say anything. I didn't respond back. And then this person said, and what did your father do to you girls anyway? Did he just finger you? And I was shocked by that. What, did he just kiss you? And to have somebody question your story and your truth and what you went through. And I'll never forget how disappointed I was, because I had put this spiritual mentor up on a pedestal, thinking that this person could never think this way, because they were so far more spiritually advanced than I was. And that for me right there was like, you know what? It doesn't matter how good of a person you are, how spiritually advanced you are, what experiences have you gone through, what you've been teaching. We are all human beings, and we all make judgments, and we all make mistakes. But it took for me to be so disappointed in this person, and to be to knock that person off that pedestal, right? I had to have that moment to realize that I always need to stay humble. I always need to stay grounded. I always need to stay accessible and try not to judge other people. But that was such a learning lesson for me.
We all have these ego explosions, I've called them. Like even the most revered spiritual teachers and healers have an ego. I remember talking to Prince after he died. I wasn't a fan of Prince when he was here. Not like I didn't like him. I just didn't pay him any attention. And then after he died, I found out he was some ascended master. And I'm like, really? Anyway, and I said to him, okay, so you are this ascended master having this, rock star life. I said, how did you cope with the ego? And he said, it was really hard. We get all up in our own self-importance. And he said, the ego is one of the hardest things to manage. And I see this in my spiritual community all the time, and I'm a victim of it too. We get in our ego and we think it's all about me, forget the rest of you. It's all about me. It's like I see that with people all the time. And I've had this discussion with my friends, there's all this judgment inside the spiritual community. Oh, they're just doing it, creating charities because they just want people to love them. And we were having this discussion, and we came up with this conclusion. If what you do is an ego thing, and you create a movement or a charity or a podcast show or write a book or
ego,
based on, I want people to like me or love me or accept me or whatever thought you have, and what you create contributes to the whole, who cares that you created it from your ego? Who cares? If it's contributing to people, and making a better world, well, then have your ego explosions. Do what you need to do. Like, who cares? Because the outcome is that people are being helped by it. That's the outcome. And
correct. And we all have ego.
We all have ego.
We're all going to have those moments. We're all going to have those, we've had a bad day and we explode, or we say something rude, or we make a judgment. But it took me that experience to realize that you can't place anybody up on a pedestal. You can't, right?
Yeah.
And we all, and the whole thing about the ego and the whole thing about helping and doing something that you love, like you said, even if it's out of ego, if it's something that you're passionate about and it really is helping, then who cares?
Exactly. There are so many spiritual gurus and people that have been involved with them, or healers that have, been charged with sexual assault or embezzling money, and people get so disappointed when their guru turns out to be human.
You kind of have to look, right? You have to look at yourself, because are you a saint? Have you lived your life in a way that you've never hurt anyone?
That's exactly right.
That's look at yourself.
That's one of the main teachings, isn't it, from Jesus? Like, the person who hasn't sinned, throw the first stone. Yeah. It's like, how can you judge another? Doesn't matter who they are. How can you judge another? Are you a saint? Are you not a sinner? I mean, it's very biblical. I don't usually go down this path, but that's the lesson. Like, judge that you might not be judged. I mean, everything we judge in another is us anyway. So the more upset we get about it when we see it, the more upset. It's just, we're looking at that same distortion in us because it's hitting us, So when we sort of live and let live and don't get upset with people's disappointments or their ego explosions or their distortion.
I can tell you too, in my experience, I didn't have a life review,
right.
But I was shown what the life review is about. And I can tell you that we are going to have to answer for every action that we've done, every word, every action, every thought. We are going to have to look at ourselves. And when we look at our life review, it's more than just physical reviewing it like a film. You're actually feeling everything. So if I, Karen, hurt you, I'm going to feel that I hurt you. I'm going to feel exactly what you felt in that moment that I hurt you. I'm going to have to live that. And so I'm going to have to go back to everything I've ever done, good and bad. We have to feel again the good that we've done and the positive that we've done, but we're also going to have to feel all that negativity and all the hurt that we've caused. And so when you're going through your review and you're feeling all of that, that's a lot of pain. That's a lot you're going to have to feel.
It's a lot to take on. I met a man years ago when I was writing the Academy of Light up on the Northern Beaches. This man was brought by someone who'd had a near-death experience. He'd never spoken about it. He'd never had a spiritual conversation. And he was very shy and tentative. And after the meeting, I got talking to him and he started opening up, because I've got a sign on my forehead that says, "Please tell me your life story."
It's a gift. You have
a neon sign. And he said something to me that I've never forgotten. It's really hard to live with. And he was talking about the life review. And he said, even when you tread on an ant, you get to feel that pain the ant felt. And I'm like, oh, damn, really? How many ants have we tread on? Like, I mean, how many cockroaches have we killed? I
had an ant problem just last summer. And as I'm doing it, I'm like, forgive me, evolve. Forgive me, ascend. I love you, forgive me.
I've been doing that with the cockroaches. I've seen the monks do that. I remember they were trying to build a building and there was a video of them taking all the earthworms out, and it was a really slow process because they couldn't kill anything while they were building this, digging in the dirt. They had to save all the earthworms, and I'm thinking, oh, wow, that's going to take forever to build that building. But I see a cockroach, right, and instead of squashing it or trying to, like, I'll shoo it outside, or if it doesn't want to go outside, I'll capture it and then put it outside. It's like, because not that I've done that all the time, because this guy told me that about 15 years ago, and I have to say I've killed many cockroaches and ants since then, but it never left me that he said that. Like, My
But
God.
same here. Like I feel, or I'll have a negative thought, and it's like, oh, I didn't mean it. Forgive me. Have a beautiful day. Right? Because I know that I'm going to have to go back, and I'm going to have to, and I have to tell you too, though, on our life reviews, it's not God that's judging us. It's not the ascended masters. It's not our loved ones. It's us.
It's us.
And we're not judging ourselves harshly or negatively or mean, or we're just looking at it like, oh, wow. So that's because of that action, I caused that. We're looking at it with compassion, with love, so that we can learn and so that we can grow. But it's us. We are the ones reviewing our own life, and we're not really judging it. We're just having to process it to learn from it.
But you know the thing about the life review, which is so beautiful, we don't have to die to do it, because we can do that in this moment. We can get upset. Like I had a bit of upset recently. A girlfriend said something to me on the phone that upset me. And then in that upset, I'm reviewing my reaction. Like, why am I upset? What does this mean about who I am? What's the belief that I'm believing? How long am I going to stay in this upset? And I have to say that to get out of the upset, because I was really believing my stressful thoughts, it was something that really upset me. I started to watch my own videos, or just to be reminded of, I am unconditionally loved. Everything is exactly as it's supposed to be. It's all going to be okay. Like,
I love
that really helped me, because, it happened just the other day, and then preparing for this show, I'm watching your story and listening, and I'm like, oh, that's really helping with this upset, especially it's exactly how it's supposed to be. And I'm like, of course it is. Of course it is. I don't need to be upset. It's exactly how it's supposed to be.
But a lot of people have a hard time with that one, because how do you tell someone who's lost a child
that it's exactly how it's supposed to be?
Their experience is real and valid, and how do you tell someone that's going through that oh, it's okay, it's how it's supposed to be? Could never do that. I could never do that.
Well, I know. Yes, I know. Right.
It's one of what eventually, I feel like the message that's going to resound, it's going to resound with somebody that's ready to hear that message.
Yeah.
That can accept that in and can hear it and wants to hear it.
Yeah.
A lot of people are not going to be able to hear that at this point in their life.
Not at that point. But death, I put out a book called Awakened by Death. Death is the great awakener. So whether it's your mother or your lover or your child that transitions, it is a great awakener, because in your grief or confusion, you're asking questions. Why? Why, how, why? Is there life after death? And that puts you on your spiritual path. That wakes you up. And so down the line, because so many people in the book had lost children and then had gone on to create amazing movements, like Elisa Medhuth with the Channeling Eric movement, and Scarlett Lewis with the Choose Love movement. And there's just so many people in the book that had lost children senselessly. Like Elisa's son had shot himself at 20. Scarlett's son was shot during a shootout at a school. He was 5 years old. And in that moment of that grief, you can't say, you're unconditionally loved. It's exactly how it's supposed to be. But now, down the road, after their inquiry and their seeking, they absolutely know that. They absolutely know.
They have to come to that on their own, on their own terms, in their own time, after their grieving, after their process. So I have to be really careful, because I'm not here to, preach to anybody. I'm not here to... I'm just here to pass on the messages.
I guess the message is that if people are listening to that, apply that to your own life. Maybe not tell people about it that are going through some sort of trauma, because they're not watching this, so they're not a vibrational match to the message. But apply it to your own life.
Yeah.
And then as you apply it to your own life and you go through challenges and you breeze through them, then people around you who are not applying it will say, what is it that you know that I don't know? And once they ask you, then you can tell them. But gee, I was one of those people, especially in my 20s and 30s, that was learning a lot of stuff through books and seminars and workshops and telling everybody, because I'm a teacher, right? And people weren't ready for it. And they were telling me all to fuck off all the time. It's like they were not ready for what I knew. And I was not living it. So telling people while you're not living it is just futile.
Yeah, no, and it's, I'll have people that come up to me after a talk, or, we're doing the question and the answer portion of it. And I always get the question, why do bad things happen to good people?
Yeah.
I always get that question because, here I'm giving these messages and all I can tell them is I don't know why bad things happen to people. I can tell you based on my experience what I learned, and that we come here on a soul mission, a soul contract to learn. We're here to love and we're here to learn lessons to evolve, to ascend our soul.
Yeah.
And that's all I can say. And, if I can plant the seed in somebody's mind and they can take those messages and they can sit with them and think about them, and if it helps them later on, then I feel like I've done something good.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. No, darling one, what time is it? How long have we been talking? Beautiful. They're fabulous messages to take into this year, to take into every year. And they come with warning. Apply them to your own life. Don't tell others until they ask.
Well,
we see people in grief. We see people suffering.
If somebody's lost someone, don't be like, you know what? It's how it was supposed to be.
It's exactly how it's supposed to be. Yeah, unless people are asking, they're not ready to hear. It's when people are asking, they can hear it, but if they're not asking, they can't hear it.
The one message that, you can give everybody all the time is you're unconditionally loved.
You're unconditionally loved, yeah.
You are unconditionally loved.
Yeah.
Period.
I have to say, when you lose a child, and Dave is another one in the book, his daughter was blown up in the Bali bombings, a man of faith. You don't feel unconditionally loved in those times.
No, you don't.
Yeah, but I have to say, it's in those times of forgetting that we take the journey home to remembering, and that's what we're doing here. We come from this realm of unimaginable love and beauty. We come here to forget. And then the traumas in our lives make us remember that we're actually here to remember. Because, when life's too good, we don't seek outside of our little box, we just don't. We stay in our comfort zones. And so why bad things happen to good peoples, it's to kick you out of your comfort zone and get you back on the path of remembering who you are and why you're here. And we're here to love and contribute to others.
Yeah, well, that was so profound. That was so good. I love that. Thank you.
Oh, darling one, it's been so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. And a reminder too, if people want to know more about your story, that they can watch Anthony's video with you, or they can. Have you got a website?
I do not have a website. I have a Facebook page that I'm not very active on. It's called Ace Holistic Healing, but they can also reach me via email as well, which is hc1437911@gmail.com.
Okay.
I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that they have via email and talk with them.
So the Facebook is Ace Holistic Healing.
ACE Healing, yeah.
Holistic Healing. And do you do sessions and readings with people?
I used to. I don't anymore. I did energy healing. And I actually combined it with a couple of other modalities because energy healing just wasn't enough, and I was giving messages to do it this way. I used to do it, and but then a full-time job, boys, commuting, I had to kind of put that to the side. So I'm not doing that right now. That doesn't mean that later on I might pick it back up again, but right now I'm not doing that.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for being on the show. It's been such a beautiful reminders from home.
Oh, I've had such a lovely time talking with you, Karen. You are amazing, and I want to thank you for what you do and for your amazing platform, and you're brilliant. You're lovely. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Heidi. You're going to make me cry.
True.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Isn't Heidi wonderful? Her story is, well, like many NDEs, I suppose, people who go over to the other side and realise the love that we are, where we come from, and where we can return to while we're still embodied. We can return to love. We don't have to die or have an NDE or even a spiritually transformative experience. We just have to tune into that energy, tune into that vibe. And I think what stops us tuning into that vibe is holding resentments and grudges, and for all the terrible things that have happened to us, for the people that perpetuated them on us, for looking out into the world and seeing all the terrible things that happen and getting upset about that. It stops us from reconnecting to the love that we are. So beautiful stories like Heidi's really show us that we have available that unconditional love all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time. Even in the dramas, we are unconditionally loved all the time. And that life is happening for us and not to us. It's happening for our evolutionary growth, our spiritual advancement, and that we come here electing to have these challenges, electing to have these dramas, these terrible things that happen to us. From our soul's perspective, we say, yep, I'm up for that. Give me some of that sexual abuse and physical abuse and sickness and death and divorce and disease and depression. It's unfathomable from this perspective that we could think we'd ever want all those things. But from our soul's perspective, we can see that we elected to experience it, which is the second part of that. It's exactly how it's supposed to be. This is what I said I was up for. So I guess that donning that soul's perspective really brings that message home, like that everything is just exactly how it's supposed to be. I'm here to overcome, to remember, to be reminded in the book's Conversation with God, to remember, to once again become a member of the body of God. To remember, to be reminded that we are one with the body of God. And great way to enter this year. I'd love to tell you that this year is going to be all roses and butterflies, and it will be if you use these principles in your life. But there are definitely going to be more challenges this year, both globally and personally for everyone, including the spiritual teachers and the enlightened ones. They have their challenges too, the healers. Everyone here is experiencing challenges. It's not that we won't experience challenges, it's how do we deal with it. And these principles really help us deal with it with ease and grace, remembering that we are unconditionally loved, especially in those times of lack, like I haven't got enough money. It's when you rewire that mind from I'm not enough to I am enough, that now you're a vibrational match for opportunities, for more money to flow into your life. You don't need to get better. You don't need to do personal growth courses. I recommend still doing them. I did all of them. But to remember, to rewire that mind from I'm not enough to I am enough. I'm not loved to I am loved. And everything is as it's supposed to be. And it'll all be all right. It'll all be better than all right. We will thrive when we practice these principles. So thanks again for watching another show, Accentuating the Positive with Karen Swain. Remember, if you'd like to dive into this work deeper, join our Inner Sanctum. We speak about these sorts of things all the time in the Inner Sanctum, here to remind the uplifters, the light weavers, the teachers, the healers of their powers of creation so that they can get on with their work and share their stories and share their messages and be the light they've come to be. We're here to support you do that in the Inner Sanctum. And of course, I invite guest teachers in to help us with that. Laurie Williams was teaching us controlled remote viewing last time. Penny Kelly is finally coming into the Inner Sanctum. She's had some difficulties of her own last year, at the end of last year. Hopefully she'll be free to join us this month. And many more teachers are coming in. Also, Heidi said she'd love to come in during the year and speak more about her NDE, her near-death experiences, and what she learnt there and the downloads that she's been getting ever since. Her mum waking her up in the middle of the night. She's been getting lots of downloads, as many people do who have NDEs. They come back not just for their own evolution, but to teach what they know. So we'll get Heidi out there teaching a bit more. And we've got lots of Aussies coming up on the show this year. I'm going to talk about extra-dimensionals, extraterrestrials, because we are close to rejoining our cosmic family, very close. The extra-dimensionals or extraterrestrials are helping us evolve. They live these principles. They understand these principles. They don't need to live them. It's just innate in their power, in their knowing that they're all connected, and what we do for each other, we do for ourselves, and what we do for ourselves, we do for each other. They know this. They know they're unconditionally loved. And so they have these higher societies which don't run on fear and lack like our society. So they're here to teach us how to evolve and how to live in a society with these different evolutionary experiences. You know, we don't have to have the drama in order to have an exciting life. Life can be exciting without the drama. Too much drama makes for an exciting life, but can be a bit much sometimes. So I'm going to speak to lots of fabulous teachers talking about that, and I can't even remember. I've got quite a few people lined up for the next couple of months. So I look forward to presenting them, and I'll see you soon. Lots of love. See you next time. Bye for now.